hey. Come here often. So stupid. So stupid. Welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. My name is Steve Zimmerman, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Did I get a show out last week? I don't even remember. If you can tell by my voice, I got a cold and or something. I caught some kind of virus. And I've had headaches and stuffy nose. You can hear I'm a little clogged up. It is what it is. Also, had my son and his wife come up over the weekend. We went to the range, did some shooting. No, I didn't get any pictures of it. It is what it is. But it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter who it is. You got to take somebody shooting. You gotta take somebody to the range, and you have to joyfully express your Second Amendment liberties, not just rights, liberties. It is important. And we need to make sure that the next generation, and one day when I have a grandkid, that generation will get to enjoy the same rights that we do right now. I think it's highly important. More so now than ever. I do honestly believe that. With the Range Minded Podcast, that's kind of been a theme since the beginning, is to take somebody shooting. My goal has always been to share my love and joy and passion for the Second Amendment to others, and to make firearms ownership normal again, because it is a part of the American tradition to own firearms, not just to own them, but to keep them and to bear them on one's person in case of a prudent choice of saving one's life. It's very key, very important, and it has been part of the American tradition before technically the United States was a country, because it doesn't come from a government. It comes from God. Whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, it is a divine gift and not an edict from some flawed men who pretend to govern us. A couple things I wanted to talk about in this episode. We're going to kind of bounce around a little bit. I'm going to do my best to keep things on topic, but I think it is key. I think it is important that you know what's going on. And maybe you already know what we're going to be talking about, and you're going to be like, Steve, you're an absolute moron. Well, if you want to help maintain my sanity, if you want to help maintain my focus on the course, there is a way you can do that, and that is by subscribing to the show. Yes, with your faithful subscription to the Range Minded Podcast, whether it be on YouTube, on Rumble, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever. That support means more to me than you will ever understand. Yes, there are other ways you can financially support the show. I do have a Patreon. I have stuff for sale on my website. There's ways to support the show if you want to pitch in and put a little skin in the game. I think it's on my link tree. I can't remember. I did do an Amazon wish list. If you want to send a happy little present to your favorite 2A podcaster, that would be great too. Or if you want to send one to me, that'd be awesome as well. I think that's on my link tree. I can't remember. But let me tell you what you get with a free subscription. Particularly on YouTube. I'm really trying to grow the YouTube. I would appreciate it if you jumped on the other platforms as well. But YouTube specifically. YouTube is very difficult to work with when it comes to Second Amendment content. And you've probably heard this from other 2A content creators before. But whenever we talk about firearms, whenever I take you guys to the range and I film videos on the range and I publish them on YouTube, they tend to not be shared. YouTube has this thing, it will recommend content. You've done it. You've looked on your feed. You've sat down on the toilet during your lunch hour and perused the tubes. And, that didn't sound very good. You've wandered through YouTube and looked for, new things to watch. We've all done it. Right? You get content that's suggested to you that you think that YouTube thinks you might like. When it comes to Second Amendment content, that tends not to be shared unless you're subscribed to that particular channel, and it might show up on your subscription notifications. Now, Why would I bring subscriptions up? If you haven't heard, well, surely you have heard by now that once that YouTube hits 1,000 subscribers, Adam with oh my gosh, Spartan Mode. I had a brain fart for a second. Adam with Spartan Mode. He's a good friend of mine. He happens to be a local guy to me here. He agreed that once the Range Minded podcast on YouTube hits 1,000 subs, I'm going to get sprayed in the face with pepper spray, and we're going to record it and share it with you. It should be a good time. Now, you can either prolong my future agony by not subscribing, or we can just get it done and over with, which I would prefer, by subscribing to the show. Just make it easy and see my pain. I don't anticipate it'll be fun, but I'm not scared of it. And maybe I'll change my mind when I'm crying with hot tears streaming down my face. But at least you'll enjoy it. So it could be fun. So that's just the YouTube subs. Like I need to figure out. Oh, I got something on my mic. What in the heavens? That could be something we could devise something else cool for, like the Rumble subs or the Spotify subs. But nonetheless, like once you sub that on the YouTube channel, that will help a ton. It'll boost my numbers, and it does give me a little bit more exposure. Also, don't forget, comments help a bunch too. Now, enough shilling. Yeah, I'm the shill on this show, right? By the way, this show, even though I have some Patreon support, which I am extremely grateful for. Don't get me wrong. I am honored that I have folks that are willing to support me there. Other than that, it is completely self-funded. I don't have any companies passing things my way. There's no gratuities or nothing. Like I'm self-funded. So think about that for a minute. The show has been on since 2018, and since then, not a penny. Not a penny. 8 years. Holy shnikes. 8 years. That light bulb just turned on. Yeah, nothing. It's been completely self-funded. That's crazy, for one thing. A show that, first of all, somebody that's dedicated long enough to produce a show that long, there's something obviously wrong with me, or I'm completely, I don't know what that would be called. Autistic, maybe? I don't know. But to go that long without really having a lot of support financially from outside sources, and the willingness to keep going, that's pretty tremendous. Statistically, podcasts don't last that long. Yeah. And that's how dedicated I am to the Second Amendment. I want all of the United States, all of us citizens, and sometimes I even kind of float the idea that non-citizens in this country have the right for self-defense as well, because it's not given by the government; it is granted by God. But nonetheless, shall we get to the frivolities of this show? Hopefully, I got a bad. Oh, there's something wrong with my mouse. Holy snap! I just replaced the battery. It's been doing funny things all night as I'm getting ready to prep this show. Clipping content, renaming content, doing all this stuff. I have no show notes today, so my goal is, I've noticed if I have show notes, if I produce, and what I do is I with the use of AI, don't hate on me, but I produce a very loose outline of things I want to talk about. Sometimes there's some direct quotes. Sometimes it's just an idea, concepts that I put out there. But I've noticed when I do that with AI or anything, even when I've written show notes out, that's how I did it in the past. I've noticed that I need to edit. But if I just go in it cold and have fun, I tend to not need to edit as much, or I just don't give a damn, and you get what you get, which is actually probably closer to the case. Now, bear with me as I start shuffling things around. I guess before I do that, let me intro this next segment here. I believe it was the 4th of February, so 5 days ago. It's the 9th as I'm recording this show of February. So February 4th, Congress met with, they were doing a nomination hearing, a committee, what do they call that? Yeah, so like Trump has nominees for different positions. In this particular case, there was 4 judges and Mr. Cekada, who is currently the acting director of the ATF or assistant director of the ATF. But since there has not been an actual director of the ATF, he's been doing the job. Anyway, he's been nominated by President Trump. We talked about this, I don't know how many episodes ago. We talked about Mr. Cekada, not Cekada. About this, about him with you. So his nomination hearing was on the 4th. Now I wanted to visit. We're not going to visit all of them. Now, by the way, like I said, there were 5 people in this hearing that were being, questioned by Congress, and you know that there are some folks with huge intellectual renown that sit on this committee, and the questions that come from these people are shocking in some ways. Let's start with this. Let's go with. Do I want to go with his initial statement? I think. You know what? I'm going to skip a couple around. I'm going to go here. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Let me transition this over. So hopefully you get the audio.
Statements. I'm going to start with Mr. Cekada. We have 5 minutes each. You've been deputy director. You've been there a long time. You know what works and doesn't work. So given your unique perspective, what are your priorities for the Bureau if confirmed?
Good morning, Senator. Thank you for your question. The top priorities for ATF will remain violent crime in the forms of illegal use of firearms, illegal use of explosives, and criminal acts of arson. We will prioritize those efforts as we work with our state and local partners around the country. As you stated earlier, and we discussed yesterday, 2 days ago, ATF is a small agency, and we are interdependent on our state and local partners. We currently have about 1,400 task force officers. We have firm commitments with our partners to continue using crime gun intelligence, E-Trace, NIBIN, and DNA to work with our partners to identify who the scourges of their communities are, the people that are responsible for using firearms illegally to commit violent crime. And ATF will do that as our primary focus. We will also attempt to use the budget that we've been allocated to modernize some critical systems that are used to work with our industry partners with, for example, the forms and licensing systems are over 25 years old, and they're very antiquated and cause significant delays in processing of forms, which unnecessarily burden the American public and the industry members. I think that would be a significant efficiency. And then, in turn, we will make sure that during the next several years, we follow President Trump's Second Amendment executive order to review all ATF policies, procedures, and regulations to ensure that none of those infringe upon the Second Amendment unnecessarily.
You and I discussed the whistleblower that exposed $20 million of waste because of fraudulent activity within ATF. Thank you for doing that, but I also hope that emphasizes listen to every whistleblower so they never have to come to Congress and seek the protection of whistleblower protection laws. Now to Mr. Davis.
All right, so we see Mr. Cekada sharing. Oh, sorry, I can't hardly chew gum and walk at the same time, so closing things out. I probably should have started with the initial opening statement to get to know who Mr. Cekada really is. So he has some prowess. Maybe I will jump to that. That was Mr. Cekada's opening statement. But let's jump to the one that actually started the hearing
And we'll see Mr. Cekada.
Good morning. Thank you. Really briefly, before I give my statement, I would like to just thank my son, Robbie, who traveled up here from Florida late last night to be with me today and support me. My wife and daughter are both in school today and couldn't be here today to join me. I have many of my friends and coworkers from ATF here, in addition to many state and local law enforcement officers that I've had the honor of working with over the many years that have been involved with ATF, NYPD, and the Plantation Police Department. Good morning, Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Durbin, and the distinguished members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be before you today. I'm deeply honored and humbled by President Trump's nomination to serve as the Director of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I am grateful to the President for his confidence and his unwavering commitment to backing the men and women of law enforcement who put themselves in harm's way every day to protect the American people. I'm also thankful to this committee for its consideration of my nomination. I would like to begin by thanking my family. My wife, Leah, and my children, Robbie and Gianna, have been my constant source of strength and purpose throughout my career. Over the past several years, my wife has courageously battled stage 3 breast cancer while holding our family together as I commuted between Florida and Washington in continued service to this nation. Public service, particularly in law enforcement, demands real sacrifice, and none of it is possible without the families who stand behind us who are serving. I also want to recognize my parents who are no longer with us. In 1966, they fled communist Yugoslavia and came to the United States in search of freedom, opportunity, and the rule of law. They became naturalized citizens in 1973 and believed deeply in what this country represents, that liberty matters, that hard work matters, and that the law should protect the innocent while holding the guilty accountable. The journey shaped my values and instilled in me a lifelong commitment to protecting freedom under the Constitution. I've spent nearly 34 years in local and federal law enforcement with a singular mission: keeping the American people safe. From my early career as a police officer and detective in New York City through my current service as deputy director at ATF, my focus has been clear: identify and dismantle violent criminal organizations, remove dangerous offenders from our streets, and to protect the communities we serve. At ATF, I've had the privilege of working alongside extraordinary professionals: special agents, industry operations investigators, forensic scientists, intelligence analysts, and professional staff who carry out some of the most difficult and dangerous work in law enforcement. ATF's core mission is public safety, targeting violent criminals, disrupting firearms trafficking networks that arm gangs and cartels, investigating bombings and arsons, and supporting our partners with world-class forensic and intelligence capabilities. If confirmed, my foremost priority will be to ensure ATF supports President Trump's mandate to make America safer by remaining relentlessly focused on violent crime. ATF's mission is not to burden lawful gun owners or undermine the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is a constitutional guarantee, and I'm committed to protecting and preserving it. Effective law enforcement and respect for civil liberties are not competing goals. They are inseparable obligations. I am equally committed to supporting the men and women of ATF. They deserve clear mission focus, strong leadership, modern tools, and accountability at every level. Excellence will be recognized and misconduct will not be tolerated. Finally, I respect the essential role of Congress in this committee. Oversight is vital to maintaining public trust. If confirmed, I commit to being transparent, responsive, and forthright as we work together to protect the American people. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here before you today. I look forward to answering your questions.
So there we have it. So that was his initial statement, and the one I played first was his actual opening statement. So I apologize. I actually wasn't going to play this, but then I realized he has some content in here that I think we need to talk about. First of all, we kind of get to know that he started as a detective in New York and then worked his way up through different bureaus of the FBI, and then finally to the ATF. So he has a long history of law enforcement, which is fine, as long as he didn't become contaminated with the power that comes with enforcing the law. Do we need law enforcement in this country? Yes, absolutely. We are a nation of laws. That's how we keep civility, is with laws. We're not an anarchist society. I think it's important to understand here, as I close this window out and work on the next, that he promises a couple things. Now we know President Trump, has stated that he wants to fortify the Second Amendment. He wants to make sure that it's a guarantee, as it has been written in the Bill of Rights, which I appreciate. No other president in my lifetime has made a positive commentary about the Second Amendment. Yes, I know. Not very long ago we talked about how I feel Trump has been the most had the most negative effect of any president on the Second Amendment, and I still stand by that. But two things can be true at once. He can be a very dangerous individual towards the Second Amendment, allowing certain attacks to take place against the Second Amendment, and still believe that it's an important right. I know it some kind of a paradox there or something, like it doesn't sound accurate, but yes, he's put judges in the right spot. In fact, the judges that are in this hearing, I think, were probably fairly favorable to Second Amendment cases. I listened to this entire hearing, by the way. This wasn't just for Mr. Cekada. It was for, like I said, four judges and him. So there was hours and hours of questions and bounding back and forth. So I listened to it so you didn't have to. It actually wasn't that bad, but you know how it is. Sometimes those on the other side of the aisle bring things up that are absolutely asinine. Like this one in particular. Let's pull this one up. I think it's important for us to understand and hear what's going on.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cekada, good meeting in our office. Enjoyed meeting you. Your highest priority, you say, is stop violent crime. It's a priority well worth your attention and ours as well. At least 2/3 of the ATF agents.
Okay, listen to this. All right, you need to listen to this. In fact, I'm going to bound it back just a couple of seconds here. Listen.
Of the ATF agents, 1,778 of the 2,572 agents have reportedly been diverted from preventing gun violence to carry out the president's immigration agenda. Do you support the president's proposed cuts to ATF?
Good morning, Senator. Thank you for your question.
So what he just said is 1,128 or something, 2/3 of the active ATF agents have been pulled to do Section or Title 8, not Section 8. They go to Section 8, but they Title 8, meaning they're going after illegals in this country. So the lie that's being shared is that over 1,000 agents are pulled from the ATF to do ICE's work. The goal to demonize ICE and this nation's laws against illegal immigration is profound.
And thank you for making time to speak with me. That number is incorrect. I think we discussed that yesterday. The number of agents.
See, and he even addressed this before the hearing. That number's wrong, and we talked about this, but yet Durbin decided to bring it up anyways.
Agents that have been diverted to focus on Title 8 enforcement is actually averaging somewhere between 75 and 100 agents per day. The remainder of ATF agents focus on violent crime throughout the country on a daily basis.
Do you support the idea of diverting ATF agents to engage in immigration enforcement?
I support ATF agents being used to enforce federal statutes and supporting our federal partners. The number of agents that have been used
Okay, he's going to say something that's important here. Now, these agents aren't just going out and pulling abuelas out of the car. Okay, they have a specific mission set under this Title 8.
These efforts have been very much focused on violent crime, specifically assisting HSI and ICE on illegal aliens that are members of MS-13, 18th Street, illegal aliens that are carrying firearms. So in those efforts, 100% ATF supports our partners.
Okay. Now, did you hear the answer that he just said? In short, he said, again, this is paraphrasing. He said, these agents have been focused on illegal aliens, gang members, MS-13, illegal aliens as far as those involved in gang crime, MS-13, Fist, or whatever the other gang was, those involved in trafficking and other things. So they're focused solely on the thing that they were already doing as ATF, right? They're already going after these individuals in their purview, but they're assisting HSI and Homeland Security and others to make sure that those individuals are getting stopped. So you see, the left is key. Don't you like it when I switch from my video play screen to the other screen? It's so bright. It is so frustrating, right? But it didn't end there. Check this out. You're gonna love this. He's one of my favorite people
here, and really relieved by your
good old
nomination.
Cory
Your
Booker.
years in dedicated service, something I have a lot of respect for and gratitude for. I've met so many ATF agents over the years and have found them to be remarkably committed professional public servants. And the fact that you would lead the agency that has so many means a lot to me. I'm worried, obviously, about the direction of the ATF. I have been for years, since I was a mayor. And we found out that the overwhelming majority of our gun crimes were done with people who acquired guns illegally. If we were just enforcing the laws, we could have driven down violence. As much as I advocate for other gun safety laws, the ones.
Then why didn't you enforce the laws that the state already had, Cory Booker? Why put more laws on the book just to infringe on law-abiding citizens while the crooks still do crook things? Jackass.
We have right now, should the ATF be given the resources and manpower to enforce the law, we could save a lot of lives in our country. And so, unfortunately, that since the president's inauguration a year ago.
So he's more concerned about the reaction instead of the action of stopping something. He's worried about the reaction of the aftermath and then going after the criminals, instead of just doing it in the first place before they do something criminal. Weird. They could have locked the guy up and maybe they wouldn't have the issue again and again.
The ATF has really been under attack, further attacks from the gun industry and high-ranking administration officials. Trump proposed gutting the ATF's budget by $400 million, already starved as an agency. The administration has diverted thousands of ATF agents away from investigating illegal firearm trafficking, bombing, tax evasion, and tracing guns from violent crimes to their perpetrators, to instead do immigration enforcement. And this has primarily resulted in the rounding up of nonviolent immigrants and not.
So he's bringing up the immigration thing again. That should have been DOA after Durbin's question, but because this is all choreographed. Like, this isn't just some spontaneous group of questions. It is designed and choreographed, and these questions are asked in a specific order, by specific people at specific times.
Not getting weapons out of the hands of people that are doing horrible things with them. The administration even suggested eliminating the ATF altogether, which is stunning to me to hear this administration wanting to defund the police that do some of the most important work for keeping us safe. And so I have a few questions just about the direction of the agency. And I just want to emphasize, again, my gratitude that you're up for this position, but the importance of you maintaining your independence and not giving the gun industry or others who want to defund you any sway over the decisions you make. And so I just want to say for the record, if you can just state, do you think abolishing or defunding ATF would risk public safety?
Good morning, Senator. Thank you for your comments. I think ATF plays a pivotal role in America's communities and reducing violent crime. And although I can't control the budgets, I think there would be a negative impact on America's communities.
Thank you very much. A simple yes would have sufficed, but I appreciate that. So this legislation is obviously misguided. I hope that you will take steps to ensure that the ATF is fully staffed, fully resourced, able to get its mission to protect the public from violent crime. Since 2007, when I first met with the head of the acting head of the ATF, they just told me the blunt truth about how much more they could do with more officers, and I hope that you'll advocate for that. The diversion of agents to conduct immigration enforcement. We know that Trump authorized ATF agents to conduct arrests of immigrants without permanent legal status. By September,
Illegal
about
aliens.
80% of the ATF's roughly 2,500 agents had been assigned to the Immigration Task Force at some point. How many ATF agents are currently assigned to the Department of Homeland Security to conduct immigration enforcement?
Sir, ATF has never had more than about 75 to 100 agents on a day working on immigration enforcement in support of ICE and HSI.
So you said about 100 and currently at any time?
No more than 100 at any given time.
Okay. Have the diversions impacted ATF's capacity to enforce our national firearms laws?
Not from our perspective. ATF in those operations has been focused on offenders that were illegally armed with firearms, MS-13, 18th Street, illegal aliens that have.
No,
So he reiterated the last question on this. No more than 100 at any given time have been working with HSI and Homeland Security on this, and they have been focused on illegals involved in gun crime, absolutely in the purview of the ATF. Yet they continue to try and jump down his case. And, there was some funding information in there as well. And I'm not going to play the video of Adam Schiff, but he jumps on the whole budget. And again, he talks about this very thing again. As far as, I guess I could jump my screen myself here. Again, Schiff is talking about this exact same thing. Well, funding the ATF, how many agents do you have there? We were told you had 1,000 agents that had been diverted, and you only have 2,000 on staff. And his answer again is, we've never had more than 100 agents a day working with Homeland Security involved in procuring illegal aliens. And we focused on gun crime with these individuals, specifically MS-13, 18th Street, and whatever else he said right there, right? So they're really trying to get him hemmed up on this ATF agents being diverted to other federal law enforcement officers. So whether we like it or not, ATF is in charge of enforcing firearms laws that Congress decides to put in there. The ATF is the enforcement. They're federal agents, law enforcement agents, as well as ICE and Homeland Security and HSI. They're federal law enforcement agents. They have arresting powers. And he says he's happy, the Cekada says he's happy to lend his agents to work with other federal agencies that are all under the same umbrella of the Department of Justice to make sure this stuff happens. So it is so, these leftists are just incredulous, right? They're so damn frustrating, but I'm done with them. Let's talk about something that's actually fun. And then we're going to bounce off of this. We've been talking about this for way longer than I thought. We better tidy this up real quick. Let's see. Let's jump to this one. This one should be good. And then this will be our last one.
I want to ask you, well, during the Biden administration first, the ATF issued several administrative rules that violated statutory authorities that were enacted by Congress. In a previous life, when I was Attorney General of Missouri, helped lead one of the lawsuits against one of those rules, the frame-a-receiver rule. Eventually, a different lawsuit came up against the rule, and the Supreme Court sort of sidestepped the ultimate issue on that. But there are similar rules, such as the stabilizing brace rule and the engaged in business rule, the threaten to make responsible.
By the way, like Mr. Kennedy had some great questions. I'm not going to play his segment of questions, but look at he's. Oh, you can't see him in this frame. Never mind. Carry on.
Law-abiding Americans into criminals and left gun owners with vague, difficult-to-follow mandates. Americans who want to exercise their Second Amendment rights and follow the law in good faith lacked any real guidance and felt like the ATF was trying to trap and punish them. The Second Amendment is a fundamental and inalienable right, so it's especially concerning when administrative state agencies like ATF infringe not only on the Second Amendment, but also the Constitution's structural separation of powers by issuing rules that are equal parts illegal and impossible to comply with. I understand you want the ATF to return to a true law enforcement mission rather than harassing law-abiding gun owners. So I want to ask you today if you'll commit to repealing or otherwise fixing this nightmare scenario for gun owners by revisiting the frame and receiver rule, the stabilizing brace rule, and the engaged in business rule and any other overreaching administrative rules in a timely manner.
Good morning, Senator. Thank you again for your question. I can assure you that ATF, under my direction, is following President Trump's Second Amendment executive order. We are currently undergoing a thorough review of all regulations. I can't speak to the specific regulations because of the guidance under APA. In the future, when the President and the Department of Justice deem that our work is ready to be put out for a notice of proposed rulemaking, there will be a draft of all those rules for everyone to review. And we fully encourage everyone to please review those, ask your constituents to do the same, to make sure that ATF thoroughly took those concerns into.
So if I hear you right, if you're reviewing all of the rules, the 3 that I mentioned would be included in that, correct?
Potentially.
What's that?
Potentially, sir. I can't.
Let's lock that in. Let's lock that in.
I can't do that, sir, but I would be glad to tell you
Okay,
that.
I think that follow-up on that particular point will be important.
Thank you, sir.
So this, I don't have his name. I don't know who this is. I apologize. Other than he reminds me of what's that comedian, the guy that talks about making sandwiches. I make them at night. You know who I'm talking about, the Bud Light guy. Gosh, I should remember his name, but I can't remember. It'll come to me halfway through another sentence. But he's talking about reviewing the arm brace rule, the doing business rule, and other things that were enacted under the almost at Obama. Same thing, the Biden presidency, and Mr. Dettelbach, who was a gem. Excuse me, man. That's just water, and I've got the burps here. I picked on something that I was a little bit I didn't hear before that actually kind of concerns me. He talked about that him and the ATF are following under his guidance. The ATF is following the executive order from President Trump to review all the rules and everything that have been affect the Second Amendment, whatever, something like that, right? And at some point, they're going to reveal their findings, and we'll have a chance to make our voices heard on such. And then the Congress can make some decisions on new rules that could be enacted. Now, that can be good, and that can be bad. I don't know why I didn't pick up that before, but I definitely picked it up at this time listening through. I've listened to this a lot. So that could be good, and that could be bad. And you can see what makes me nervous about the bad side. So obviously they could see that, maybe there's too many liberties. The Department of Justice hasn't had the highest confidence rating from a lot of us when it comes to firearms liberties. So it could be interesting. You know how I feel about Pam Bondi. Actually, I was going to share, what's her name? Shapiro. Gosh, am I having a brain fart tonight? Janine Shapiro? No, you know who I'm talking about. She talked about how pro 2A she is, and then she said something about being anti 2A. That isn't the last one. I actually wanted to talk about, I got to find it here. Where is it? Oh, Mike Lee. This is one I wanted to share, and then we'll be done. So let me share here. Easy, that's a future judge.
If that's all right.
Take it easy.
I believe that the elimination of the $200 National Firearms Act tax stamp was a significant.
Now, this is an important conversation that Mike Lee is having here. Listen to what he is saying.
Victory for Second Amendment rights. This is a constitutionally protected right, the right to bear arms. And when we attach a significant tax burden to it, that's got to be taken into account. Now, unfortunately, that didn't eliminate all laws that might fall, under the same argument. We still have pretty significant restrictions in place, including various registration requirements that exist under the National Firearms Act, not all of which I believe have clear constitutional justification. But even before we get to the constitutional justification, which may tie in to the policy points, I wanted to ask you a little bit about whether and to what extent or in what way there is, law enforcement or other policy-based justification that makes it, compelling, makes it make sense, makes it necessary for one reason or another to have these restrictions in place as to things like silencers, short-barreled rifles, and short-barreled shotguns. Can you think of good policy-based law enforcement justification for having those on the books?
Good morning, Senator. Thank you for your question. As far as policy, our enforcement of those firearms applies strictly under the NFA. If let's say, for example, they weren't under the NFA, they would still be required. They would still be firearms under the GCA.
Right. So they're not unregulated, and in order to buy them, you would still have to go through the background check process, which is which is significant, and depending on how busy they are at the time when you're buying a firearm, you may have to wait minutes, or it might be hours, or whatever it is. But it's not completely unregulated at that point.
That's correct.
So these are additional restrictions slapped on top of those restrictions already applicable to all firearms. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Through the NFA, that's correct.
Okay. Now, and that certainly, grasp that, certainly as to the short barrel.
So did you see what Mike Lee just tidied up around those corners? Did you pay attention to what he's saying? So he's Mike Lee, is along with representation from my state and many others, are happy to remove suppressors from the NFA. The NFA needs to disappear. That is an archaic and highly restrictive infringement on American people's rights to keep and bear arms. So Mike Lee says, hey, the NFA is $0 on suppressors, but are they firearms? And Cekada says, well, they are considered firearms under the NFA and Gun Control Act. And he says, so you still have to go through background checks to get suppressors. He says that is correct. You still have to go through the background check because of the Gun Control Act. And so Mike Lee says, oh, I see. So they're still regulated, and you have to go through a background check, and there's still some barrier. Yes, that's correct. Did you see what he just said? What he just did? He gave loud and clear understanding that they have no need, suppressors have zero need, to be in the NFA. Zero. You're still going to have to do a background check. They're still controlled. They're still regulated through the Gun Control Act.
Rifles and short-barreled shotguns. Let's talk about suppressors for a minute, the sound suppressors, commonly known as silencers, but a technical term within the industry is sound suppressors. Tell me what policy justification. I think that one falls as legitimate as the criticism is of these restrictions as to the other items that we've discussed, like short-barreled shotguns and short-barreled rifles. It seems to me to be particularly difficult to justify the additional restrictions as to sound suppressors, because sound suppressors are themselves not guns, correct?
Under the law, sir, suppressors are considered firearms under the Gun Control Act. So that's why they're regulated under the GC. Well, they're regulated under both GCA and the NFA.
Right. But unlike actual guns, the suppressor is not capable of firing a bullet. Unlike guns, suppressors are there, as the name implies, to suppress sound. So that people who use guns, whether that's for hunting, for target practice, for sporting of one sort or another, they are subjected to a bombardment of sound that is louder than it otherwise might need to be. And for people who use certain kinds of firearms that happen to be really loud, they've got to use some kind of hearing protection on their ears. The question arises, what decent public policy justification or law enforcement need might compel the United States government, with all the force of the United States government and with enforcement power given to the to ATF, to restrict those, given that there is a legitimate public policy justification for actually wanting to encourage people to do it, because it tends to protect people's hearing. Can you think of any good reason why we should not allow those, or at least why we shouldn't allow them without this additional step above and beyond what applies to firearms generally?
Again, sir, from ATF's perspective, ATF is bound by the law at this point, and if Congress chose to move suppressors out of the NFA into the GCA, ATF would be supportive of Congress's decision.
Well, that is very good to know, because we periodically do introduce legislation, and when we do that with basically every department, every agency I'm familiar with, we tend in my office, and I think my colleagues do the same, to seek technical input from the agency involved in the enforcement of that law. And it's good to know in advance sometimes what that might look like. So I appreciate your perspective on this one. Congress does need to revisit these issues, particularly given that sound suppression can be very important for health and safety reasons. There is not a legitimate health and safety reason, certainly.
Yeah, speaking of health and safety, the ATF requested suppressors for their door kickers and enforcement groups. They wanted suppressors for the health and safety of their agents, if you remember that last year.
To treat this not just as a firearm, but as a particular type of firearm that requires further restriction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see my time's expired.
Before Senator.
All right, let's see here. Oh, stop it.
Mr. Cekada.
Stop it. Stop it. Again, take it easy. She's going to be a future judge. Don't get your heart broken by her. All right. Boy, this went way longer than I thought this would. I thought I'd have a chance to blast through these something severely, but I didn't. I want to talk about a couple more things. Let's kind of wrap this up and maybe do some fun stuff here at the end. So this the day before, actually, this hearing. This has been published all over X. I'll pull it up. I don't know. Here we go. Sorry, I don't have all this fancy equipment to make things pop up and show and zoom around and be all cool and stuff. So this is a letter from Congress to the ATF regarding the illegal database that has been kept. We know, a lot of us have known for a very long time that the ATF has been keeping things that they shouldn't be keeping, right? And you can see it's undersigned by many. Do I have peeps on here? Let me see if I got. I see. Oh, Burleson's on here. Chip Roy, another great guy. Boy, do I need to contact my representation on here? You got to be kidding me. Oh, I'm gonna have to make a phone call. Yeah. I can't believe my representation is not on the undersigned. So I'll see if I can actually read this. It's actually hard for me to see. It says, "We, the undersigned members of Congress, have waited patiently to know how many records ATF is currently maintaining in its illegal digital searchable gun registry, also known as the Out of Business Records Imaging System. 18 members of Congress first submitted our inquiry on this matter to the ATF over 290 days ago on February 14th, 2025. I do remember that, actually, and have not been given a response. Therefore, we strongly urge an urgent response by February 10th. So that would be tomorrow as of this recording, 2026. Congress has great reason for concern. We have reason to suspect that the ATF now has over 1 billion gun registration records in its database. 1 billion. So that means everyone, well, maybe not every, 1 billion. That is a lot of records. Anyway, carry on. 1 billion gun registration records in its digital database. Back in November of 2021, a document leaked by Gun Owners of America revealed the ATF was procuring over 54.7 million out-of-business records per year. This prompted our first congressional investigation, which uncovered the shocking reality of that that the ATF currently has in its possession 920,664,765 gun registration records. Almost a billion. That is the vast majority of which were designated and scheduled are duty to the Second Amendment, and gun owners of American compelled us to hold you. I think that, again, it's hard for me to read this on the screen. The director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives accountable. No such rule or registration presented regulation prescribed after that date of enactment of the further of Firearms Owners Protection Act may require that records required to be maintained under this chapter or any portion of the man, it's really hard for me to read this. I'm not going to lie. It just doesn't show up on the screen very well. Under this chapter, any portion of the contents of such records be recorded at or transferred to a facility owned, managed, or controlled by the United States or any state or any political subdivision thereof, nor that any system of registration of firearms, firearms owners, or firearms transactions or dispositions be established. Concerned with this violation of the Second Amendment and federal law, the House of Representatives has begun to debate the best way to eliminate this unlawful gun registry. Last year, the House Appropriations Committee passed an amendment to defund the gun registry in a 29 to 25 vote. This year, House Appropriations include two sections of the in fiscal year 2026 Justice Department funding bill to directly defund this unlawful registry. However, the ATF's lack of transparency is harming our ability to conduct adequate congressional oversight and properly consider this legislation. Congress must know how. Let me try that again. Congress must know how many gun registration records the ATF is currently maintaining. Given the severity of this potential violation of federal law and the threat of illegal national gun registry poses towards the Second Amendment rights of the American people, we are also troubled by the ATF's lack of response to our investigation inquiry. Your continued refusal to provide basic information services raises serious questions about whether the ATF, despite changes in leadership and stated priorities, remains in compliance with several congressional appropriations restrictions, a federal statute, and the Second Amendment, and the Second and 14th Amendment. Boo. You think I just can't read? No, it's so pixelated on my screen. It's hard for me to read. It's just how I tried to find this on their actual congressional database, but I just couldn't find it. This is off of X, and then I just kind of expanded the screen. Congress needs current information in order to inform its funding decisions. Once again, we write to receive an immediate update on the total number of out-of-business records or OBR Center. The OBR Center is currently maintaining, including digital and hard copy record estimates and all other questions included in our letter on February 14th. And then the undersigned. I'm not going to read all the others, all the undersigned. Thank you for dealing with that with me. So that is very concerning, right? The ATF is not, I got to look around here to see what I get. I get what I get here.
Made reference earlier.
Stop it. I don't know if you could hear that. That's the next segment. Stop. I don't know if this should be concerning. So the ATF said, well, this is not searchable. Yes, we've obtained all these out of business records from former FFL holders, but yeah, we've digitized it. We put it on a computer. No, it's not searchable because we asked them to take away that function, which is completely BS. The ATF in the previous administrations, the ATF has been very difficult to work with and very adverse to the Second Amendment. And I don't know if you realize this. We've talked about this, but there's kind of a correlation under not Obama. I almost did it again. Under Biden, revocations of FFLs was at an all-time high. Plus, they were creating this database of out-of-business records. Wow, what a coincidence. What a better way to fulfill or to increase the information of all these digitized records other than putting people out of business and taking their records away from them. That should be greatly concerning. 1 billion firearms transaction records. 1 billion. That is a lot. So, you should understand and be angry at the ATF for this breach of the trust with the American people. It's disgusting, and it's super frustrating. Here's something else that's going to make you a little bit frustrated, but I think it's still kind of embarrassingly funny. I got this off Mr. Guns and Gear, off his Twitter page, X page, whatever you want to call it. This will make you pull your hair out. Let's jump to this real quick.
You made reference earlier that you're a constitutional office. My colleague made reference that there are constitutional divisions amongst responsibilities between us and you. What branch of government do you operate under?
Mecklenburg County.
What branch of government do you operate under, Sheriff?
Constitution of the United States.
Correct. That is what establishes the branches of government. I'm asking which branch you fall under.
Mecklenburg County. I'm a duly sworn Mecklenburg County Sheriff. We answer to the people of Mecklenburg County.
This was not where I was anticipating getting stuck. Are you aware of how many branches of government there are?
No.
For the sake of debate, I will move on and say there are 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial.
What the
Of
hell?
those 3, which do you believe you fall under?
I believe I fall under the last one,
Would you say it to me?
judicial.
You are incorrect, sir. You fall under the executive.
Then let's, hypothetically, does pulling on-duty deputies off the street to chauffeur individuals to bars and strip clubs, would that make Mecklenburg safer?
Again,
It's a hypothetical. It's not asking you directly anything with your agents. Hypothetically, as sheriff.
that is in the content of the petition that I just stated that I cannot answer question to, even hypothetically.
I'll let the record reflect that the gentleman refuses to answer.
You may
A duly elected sheriff of Mecklenburg County, I don't know where this is, could not answer some very basic civics questions. Now, why is a sheriff so important? What is the purpose of a sheriff? How does a sheriff impact your life? So, sheriffs are elected. And because they are elected, they are the highest law enforcement officer that affects you directly. They have a higher prowess than even the state police. They are in charge of that county. 100% they enforce the law inside that county. Now, we like to think that that sheriff, if he is elected or she, they understand how basic constitutional sixth grade understanding of the Constitution, a basic. He should understand how that works. At the minimum, I could see getting hung up on the last question, what branch do you serve under? And he said judicial. I can see where he could get that confused. But being unable to answer how many branches of the government there are under the Constitution, I mean, come on now. That blows my mind. So, do you have faith in your sheriff? Hopefully, your sheriff's a little bit more on the ball than this individual. He couldn't answer basic questions. And then that cute little teaser again, that was still from Mr. Guns and Gear at the end there, where apparently this individual, this sheriff, this duly elected sheriff, has been instructing his deputies to pick people up from the bars, picking people up from strip clubs, or dropping them off to said bars or strip clubs to keep the county safe. Don't you think if you're picking somebody up from a bar or a strip club, you damn sure should be taking them not to another establishment, but probably to jail if they're publicly intoxicated. I could see that. Or maybe helping them home. I could see that there could be a service there. But maybe your focus should be on enforcing laws by keeping bad people off of the street. My hell, Mr. Sheriff. That is absolutely, that is amazing. Let's see. I got one more I want to show you. I think it's this one. Maybe it's this one. This should be fun, and then we'll close things up because my hell, you've been waiting an hour for this very thing. Let's jump to this real quick, and then we'll be calling it quits here. Again, sheriffs, elected individuals in this county, the county that you reside in, you better be voting the right people in. Let's talk about this, and then we'll close.
This morning, we're going to talk about how to secure your gun legally in your vehicle. The goal is to get it to the most rearward part of your vehicle where you can secure it to something that's stable. You have to carry the gun in your vehicle that's unloaded. So you make sure there's nothing in the chamber, there's nothing in the magazine well. This is a semi-automatic, feeds from a magazine. So, and it's also secured with a gun lock. So now I'm going to close the box, secure the latches. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to secure the gun box to something that's very stable.
Oh, double loops. Nice.
You can either run it through these holes or you can run it through the handle.
Simply through the handle.
And there it's secured. It'll move a little bit, but nobody can just grab it and run away with it.
Okay. Quick question, Sheriff. Actually, let's finish this up and then I'll ask my question because maybe you'll address it.
You also need to cover it so that nobody can see that there is a gun box or safe in the vehicle.
Okay, I see. Mr. Sheriff, a couple of important questions I have for you, sir. First of all, you need to understand this is in California. This is a cute little PSA from I don't know what sheriff of what county, talking about traveling with your firearm, securing it in your vehicle. Great advice. What do you guys think? Yes, no? Did you see anything that might be a little concerning? Maybe you don't see the logic of this information. Let's look at it again real quick. I want you to really. I'm going to turn the sound off. We'll just talk through here. Again, here's happy Mr. Sheriff guy talking about securing vehicle. You got to keep it in the rearmost rearward part of your vehicle. That's being said because he doesn't want you to be able to access that firearm. Make sure it's unloaded. You run your cable lock through there. Cute idea. Okay, you got your lock on there, and then you shut the lid. Okay, hold on right there, Mr. Sheriff. Let's back up one little bit. Do you see something wrong with the way that firearm is locked? There should be two things screaming at you right away. There should be two very obvious things that should be screaming at you. Shall we look at it again? Let's look closely, shall we? If you can't see the mouse on my screen, you can see the sheriff's pretty blue bracelet on his right wrist. If you travel to the left of that beautiful blue bracelet, you will see the keys are still inserted into the cable lock. Now, sheriffs, as we saw in the last video, and I used to have a lot more confidence in duly elected sheriffs of said counties, but I'm beginning to see a pattern here. Okay, so you see my concern here? Now, sure, that could have been an oversight, but maybe he should have been a little bit more thorough on what he what he recorded here. I know I'm nitpicking here, but you know that somebody saw that and they're like, oh, I can leave my keys in there because I'm going to lock this gun in this box. Shall we carry on? You see, he locks the cute little Pelican case latches, finds a secure location in the back of the car, double loops it around this ring, and he says something right here. He says, well, you could go through the little lock hole there on the box, but I'm going to go through the handle. Okay. Don't you think they could just unlatch the box and take the gun out of the box where you left the keys on the cable lock? And he says, look, it'll move around a bit, but it's secure, and nobody can grab it and run away with it. I love that he said that. Nobody can grab this gun and run away with it. No, nobody can go away with a box if they don't want it, because this duly elected sheriff from California chose not to lock the box, but lock the handle. And in his wisdom, he left the keys in the cable lock of the firearm. Now, I know, call me pedantic, but maybe if they actually let their citizens carry a firearm on their person, they wouldn't have to lock the gun up in their car and have it stolen and then become a crime gun that they like to point out in many statistics. Wow, just think. If a person could carry the gun on themselves and not in their car, or face massive state and federal legislation against them, at least state legislation, they wouldn't have to lock it up in the car. But maybe if that was the case and you're not going to change state laws, at least produce a video that shows you're competent enough to find a way to secure a firearm that would be completely unable to be stolen out of the back of that car. If you're going to produce something that says securing your vehicles and your firearm, at least use proper equipment. My gosh. Make sure you're electing people that are properly are fit for the service that you're electing them for, and not morons that don't know what the Constitution states, or individuals that are supposed to be experts and knowledgeable on guns and do this stuff. Like, oh my Lanta. It's so bad that my nose is draining and now I sound terrible. That's how bad it is. And it is far too long. This show's gone way too long. I'm not going to edit it, by the way. So if you've made it through this entire time, good on you. You're a trooper. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share. Don't forget to comment as well, because that does help the algorithm. It helps me percolate up. It never gets suggested or recommended, but it helps. 1,000 subs on YouTube equals pepper spray to my face. And that might help declog my old nostrils and my sinuses. You can find me on Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the places you find your podcasts. Remember, you got to stay safe, you got to stay armed, and you need to stay range-minded. I love you guys. Don't be stupid. Take somebody shooting. And just be good to people. You know, just don't be like these guys. Go buy a gun. Good night.
Dude's just like, you need a shotgun. You need a shotgun, man. It's got a good spread.
Lord, open doors we can't ignore. Rangers thrive on every beat where the range and hard lines meet. Range minded, hear the call. Rangers stand, we never fall. Take someone shooting, spread the flame. Honor, grit, and a shoot.
In fact, you got a problem over here, you ain't even gotta look. You just turn, wow, that's it. You ain't got a problem over here anymore.
Range minded shots.